Here's a fact that is true. I have a Patreon, it comes with ad-free videos, and you can get a free copy of my first book. Link below.
Because I was quiet for you. I was quiet for Risen. I was quiet for Kobe. I was quiet for 4chan. I was quiet for everybody. Can y'all be quiet for me? Please?
You've interrupted every one of us, so that's false.
No, I haven't. So I need y'all to stop treating me like I'm some run-of-the-mill fucking scrub. But if I'm muting people and I'm putting people literally because y'all are interrupting. I've had to, which is who's an atheist, by the way. I'm interrupting each other because y'all are both doing that.
Hold on. It seems that the only way you treat the God hypothesis is as a vacuous truth, which means you don't feel that you need to go out to reality and evaluate the proposition.
Wait, Theo, can you...
So I don't think if you're going to treat God claims as vacuously truth, you can hold that as a skeptical person.
So if we're looking for a worldview that permits somebody to hopefully be guided more approximately to the truth, and we know that our senses are fallible, the skepticism route where people change their minds more often seems to me a conducive route to that, whereas the religious person is dogmatic in their religious beliefs. And notice I didn't say Christian, I just said religious person.
I know you said religious person, right? But this is what I'm trying to say. Unless you're saying that somebody, I don't think that somebody can not be religious. I think everyone has a religion. It's impossible to not be religious because the very same things that you're talking about, every single individual person does, right? So like, for example, you could say academia is skewed. You could say academia is skewed towards atheism and its presuppositions and its beliefs. So of course it's going to look like to atheists as if they are somehow not are maintaining the most amount of truth or changing their minds most often, because that's what they're saying, right? But to everybody, every single Christian does this. Like for example, every single person does this whether they're believers or not. For example, inside the Christian faith, it would example as the Trinity doctrine, right? It would example as the other doctrines that evolved through the church fathers. With Islam, this comes through the hadiths, right? Everybody has an evolution of their ideas. No one's ideas are ever stagnant. Right? It doesn't work like that. So I see it as a false dichotomy. Hold up. I see it as a false dichotomy because you're trying to make me choose between two choices, but both sides do the exact same amount in the exact same way. Analytical people tend to change their minds more often. It doesn't matter if they're Christian or atheist or secular or whatever, right? It's not about the groups of people. That's why I'm saying it's a fallacious question. I confer with Justin.
I just like
It's not fallacious, and you just changed my criteria in the end there.
Wait,
but
where's the empirical data?
I have a couple questions for you, if that's okay. But you were talking about the academia is skewed towards secularism,
Yes.
or you said something to that effect earlier, right? Okay.
Yes.
So let's say that you're a historian, you're an academic, and you're going to study a region like the Middle East. Now, famously, the Middle East is the hub of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Which religion should this person take precedent over when trying to study this religion to try to figure out what really happened in this place? Or should they just be an unbearable skeptic and go in assuming that none of these miraculous religious claims, narratives are true? The people like in the story, like I can believe that a person named Jesus and Muhammad and whatever existed, but we're going to discount the actual miraculous claims and study it.
Okay.
So which should they do?
You kind of cut out a couple places, so you might have to repeat the thought analogy for me. But if I gather it, if you're saying
Happy
something...
to.
Yeah, please just repeat it for me. I'll just have you repeat it. It'd be better. I don't want to misrepresent
Sorry
you.
about that. So you're a historian, you're a scholar, and you're going to study the Middle East, which is famously a mix of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Should they take precedent over one of those religions to try to understand historically what happened in that place, and that would include the miraculous claims of that one religion? Or should they be a skeptic about all of them and go into it? I would think that would be a more open-minded sense.
First of all, both sides would be open-minded. I can go in it conferring with the Christians and being open-minded and changing my mind. But the whole point is, to answer your question, I think that he should go in with what most comports with reality, right? Individually striking, it's a little bit more work to do, right? But individually seeing if their ideas are correct. So he should do an internal critique to find out if their ideas are valid, right? And the one thing that you do need to understand too, especially when we're talking about religions, some religions need other religions to be right in order for it to be right. So like, for example, Christianity, we need Judaism to be right. So Judaism and Christianity are going to back each other because we need each other to be, well, they don't need us, but we need them to be correct. Because if they weren't correct, Christianity falls apart. because that's what we're basing it off of. We're saying we're the completion of their religion, right? So you would have to have accurate reporters and take data as it is. But this is what I'm trying to say. It's not the skepticism that's like tied to a secular person, right? It's just somebody who is skeptic. You being secular doesn't make you more skeptical, and you're not more likely to be more skeptical because you're a secular. I'm a highly skeptical person. That's why I host these panels and debate y'all, because I don't believe that you lack belief. I don't believe that you chose your belief, that you don't choose your beliefs. I am skeptical of the things you're telling me, but you just think because I'm religious that I somehow am dogmatic. It's not dogma. It's what you're claiming it to be. That's what I'm like calling out here, man. So. That's what I'm saying. It's a bad question. That's what I'll end off with. That it's a bad question on the lobster.
Jeez. Oh, God.
I think we disagree on too many definitions of words for this to be conducive to a debate.
If a religion is a belief that takes a specific position on those three foundational things, then if you have if two people do not have the same three foundational things, they're not part of the same religion. Christians have different takes on those three things, so they're not all Christians by this definition.
But that's the thing. No, they don't, right? So all Christians agree that God exists. We all accept.
What are your specific positions on the three, so we can be more clear?
Right, I'll show you. All Christians. There's not going to be a single Christian, right, that is going to say God does not exist. All Christians say that God exists, right? So that is the axiom. They all accept the God axiom. Now, their epistemology, how do they know things? Okay. Divine revelation. All Christians are going to say they know things because God revealed it, right? Or God showed it, God demonstrated it.
I've met several that don't.
Really? So God didn't create that information for them. So how would they know that God existed? Right? Exactly.
They don't take that universal stance.
So we would need to bring them in instead of the hearsay, and we would need to see where they gather that, because what we have is an objective stance.
What's the third thing?
Why are you always trying to glaze over when I penetrate your impenetrable shield? So like, wait, let me just get
Jesus fucking Christ, dude!
Do not glaze over that.
Talking about penetrating and glazing me. I do not consent.
By this, okay? And look, that's your mindset, man. That's all up to you.
Give me a second.
You're the one that said it.
Hold up, Peterson.
We can tell what your internet history has in it. So anyway,
Rizzy, give me a second. Hold up. Let me say this. Let me just get out the three. Let me just get out this, right? It was 4 criteria. I've said it was 4 criteria from the very beginning.
But hold on. Okay.
Right? It is 4 criteria in total.
No, you said 3.
I love you, brother, but it was definitely.
Hold up. No, stop. I did not. You know how I know? No,
yes, you
I did not. No, I did not. You know why I know I did not?
Yes,
no, I did not. It would be claims on how we know things, claims of what we are, and it would be claims on the metaphysical wrapped up in a axiomatic framework. So it has to be foundational to who you are or to your beliefs as a whole. On the rejection of the God axiom, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's not an axiom, that's not. That's
and then on top of that,
and we just
right,
have a negative attitude.
And then on top of that, right, that's one criterion, and then there's 3 other criterions, right? 3 others. Because it's wrapped in an axiomatic framework, right? The axiom is the framework upon which the other 3 exist in. This would be the ontological claim, what we are and what exists, what is, right? The metaphysical claim about the things that we can't see and interact, quote unquote, interact with. And then a claim on how we know about both of these things.
What are your specific positions on the 3 so we can be more clear?
Right, I'll show you. All Christians. There's not going to be a single Christian, right, that is going to say God does not exist. All Christians say that God exists, right? So that is the axiom. They all accept the God axiom. Now, their epistemology, how do they know things? Okay. Divine revelation. All Christians are going to say they know things because God revealed it, right? Or God showed it, God demonstrated it.
I've met several that don't.
Let me get out the 3. No, because we only got to 2 so far. Let me get out the other 2, right? No, I did not. Understand that I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. We have falsification criterion for somebody being a Christian. You can't just claim it and then you are. We can actually see it. And if they're saying something that's unscriptural or undoctrinal, we have all rights to kick them out of the group called Christian because they're not, right? This is how I know what a Christian is versus what an atheist is.
There you go. That's what I said earlier.
But no, you're saying that they're different But
I said earlier, Christians don't believe all these things, therefore they're not Christians, and then you just agreed.
You did not.
That you said we kick them out and we call them
not.
not Christians.
No, you did
That's
not.
what you did.
It's
Yes, I did
different.
do that. And then you did
different.
that.
No, we did not do the same thing.
It's not.
We did not do the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
The symmetry,
and you did say
the symmetry
3.
breaker. I did not. I did not say 3 in the context that you're saying.
You
I didn't
did.
say 3 in the context.
This will go on YouTube tomorrow, and you can see
I'll
it.
look at it on YouTube tomorrow. Awesome.
Do you think the filioque is true?
Say yes. Catholicism is based.
Host, do you think the filioque is true?
I don't know that word. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Do you think that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, or just the Father?
That's exactly what I was talking. That sounds like exactly what I was talking about between what I was saying with the Trinity view and other doctrinal views, right? The point is that none of those views.
I'm just looking for a yes or no.
It doesn't
dude.
matter because it's
not that deep.
It's not. I'm not going to give
Yes,
you a
it
yes
does.
or no because your question is not relevant to what I was saying. If anything, it was demonstrating what I'm talking about. All of those, right? Whether I take
what blatant
whether
cowardice.
I take to the filioque or not, right? Neither one of those views are contradictory to Scripture. If somebody is saying something contradictory to Scripture, such as you can go around enslaving people when God said not to do that, that is what would get them kicked out as a
No,
Christian.
he did not ever say that. In fact, he gave instructions on who you're allowed to enslave.
So I'm gonna do the same thing too.
He gives instructions for slavery and how to trick people to become your slaves and how to make their children your property for
We're gonna
life.
do that, right? Stop going up.
Now you're just
I'm
lying.
Not lying. No, I'm not. We're not going to do that.
You should read the Bible.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to get into
Read the
We're not going
Bible.
to get into another discussion. You already don't understand the first things that I'm saying. Let's not get into.
No, I'm
something
done
else.
talking to you.
Stick with what I'm saying because if this is going on YouTube,
We're not, 'cause you're
I'm gonna
too
make sure-
dishonest.
I'm going to make sure. Put this part in too. Put this part in because if this is not on YouTube, I'm going to put it on YouTube, right? And I'm going to show that you're going to lie.
Still recording, sweetie.
I'm going to show that you're going to lie to all of your peoples. So
What did I lie about?
stop. You are not talking on it.
What was the lie I told?
You are not talking on the top.
Stop! What was the lie I told?
Exactly.
What lie did I tell?
Please, I want to see them. I want to see it on YouTube.
Oh, the
I want to see
gaslighting.
it on YouTube. I want to see you act like this on YouTube.
What lie
Oh my
did I
goodness,
tell?
I want to see it. This is going to be so funny, and I know you're not going to do it.
What lie did
Let
I
me
tell?
get to it. Stop saying that and let me get to it. Shut up. Thank you. Beautiful. Silence. Stay on mute, by the way.
Literally still
Stay
waiting.
on mute, by the way. Stay on mute.
Still
All right.
waiting. Did God say stick an awl through the ear of your slave and they'll become
Irrelevant.
your slave for life?
Irrelevant. Irrelevant. Yes, demon. Speak, demon. Showed you. Because you
Holy
can't keep on
fucking
track.
shit.
Wow.
Maybe
Back
you
to
should read the
conversation.
Bible, like,
But we
for
wasn't
once in your
talking about
life.
that. I read the Bible. We wasn't talking about that. Speak, demon. Look at he laughs.
God, there's no slavery in the Bible. God doesn't say you can do slavery. Here's the way God instructed how to make a slave out of somebody for the rest of their
let
life.
me-
That's
Let me
irrelevant.
ask you
about
something.
that?
Let me ask you something.
No,
Is
hold
it-
on. One is volunteering themselves to be an indentured servant.
It also says you
But
can
you're-
make
but you-
children
wait,
of
I
inherited
thought you were-
property
Hold on.
slaves for
Don't
life.
pivot.
You were just
Don't
laughing.
shift. Stay on
You were
this
just
point.
Children of slaves
stay on
don't
that point.
consent
You were
to
just
become
laughing and
slaves.
hackling, and now you're moving on to the next thing. Now, if a child is not entailed in
God
that,
says you can
same
make
agreement,
Children
then what should
slaves
what should
for
that
life. Children don't
This guy's
consent to
really
being
bad.
children don't consent
So
to
if
being
a child
slaves.
is not under that same umbrella, then that if a child is not under that same umbrella, then that child is going to be what, outside of the camp just whole life. What's
He is risen just advocated for child slavery, everybody. What else are they gonna do? You're an actual piece of shit. Go fuck yourself. Sure. So what has to come what is the thing that has to come from, and what did it come from?
Okay, so if we exist in an image, right, then everything came from light, right? Light makes the image, the eternal light. It gives the plants the light to give us oxygen to survive. It runs our cars, the internet, like our phones.
Normally, when I say somebody's trying to sound photosynthesis, it's a joke. But this is a weird case where they're actually trying to sound photosynthesis by sounding photosynthesis. I've never seen that before. That's actually fascinating. Are you just in roundabout sort of ways trying to tell me that the universe has a creator because it has to have a creator because the universe exists?
Right. If it's already been created for you to experience, then it had to have been created prior to you being here, right? So it had to
The
been,
universe is created?
well, yes, everything of material has been formed, right? The hairs on your head, your teeth. What do you mean when?
Yeah, when was the universe created? Nobody told me that.
You don't believe in the Big Bang either?
I do. The Big Bang didn't create anything.
It didn't. Because we all have the atoms that came out of that.
Do you know that matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so it's not created.
Okay, so the only thing that existed before the matter formed our bodies was it electrical energy, right? That some people call spirit, like an invisible source.
I don't know anybody that calls it that. So the idea that the universe has always existed doesn't mean it goes on for an infinite amount of time backwards. It just means that it never didn't exist. Now, there wouldn't have been matter in the form that we see it today, but there could have been energy.
Well, I don't think the Earth is flat. I think it's more of a snow globe. I don't think we're on a ball spinning because water is level all the way around. That doesn't make sense. If you pour water on a basketball, where does it go? To the bottom, right?
Do tides happen?
Tides?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe that the
so water is literally never level then.
Well, there is a level all the way around the Earth.
There is a median sea level, but water is literally never level.
I fail to understand.
Do tides exist?
Tides, yes.
Do high tides and low tides happen at the same time?
Right.
If one point is higher than the other, can it be level?
If there is a crest in the water, you're saying that it cannot be level because it's in motion?
Let's rewind. Do high tides and low tides happen at the same time?
On different parts of the Earth.
So if there is a high spot and a low spot, it cannot be level.
Well, what do they say causes the tides?
What do you say causes the tides?
I'm just going to repeat what scientists say because that's what we have to go off of.
So you believe in gravity. You know that gravity cannot allow an object the size of the Earth to be flat. It necessarily collapses it into a spherical shape.
Here's a weird one for you. Think about it.
We're actually not going to do whatever you were going to do there. Do you understand that gravity cannot allow for an object the size of the Earth to be flat?
I don't comprehend your statement. When you say that the moon could cause the tides, but also like when the astronauts are jumping around on the moon and they're just floating around, right? It doesn't make sense. It's either really strong, it could pull the water on the Earth up, but not hold the astronauts down, or there's another force.
What happens when the astronauts jump? What happens?
When the astronauts jump on the CGI videos?
Yeah, what happens?
They go up about 3 feet and they float down like a feather.
Not 3 feet. But so they go up, and then what happens after they go up?
They come back down.
So apparently gravity is strong enough to hold those astronauts.
So how could you explain over 4,500 years ago that those 3 stars remain in the same exact spot?
What does that even mean, that they remain in the same spot?
If we're flying through space at over 1 million miles an hour, right, for 4,500 years. How do the stars always
Fucking Christ. Are the stars moving?
are we moving or are the stars moving?
We're already agreeing. We're starting with the position that we are moving. So then the question is, are the stars moving?
I would say everything is in motion.
Okay. And we're in rotation around the galaxy, right?
Right.
Okay. So let me ask you a slightly different question. Let's say you're in a car and the car is going 50 miles per hour, right?
Right.
So if you're in that car going 50 miles per hour and the car drives for 5 hours, how could you possibly be able to see your sister in the back seat? Because you're going 50 miles per hour and you've been traveling for 5 hours.
Well, my sister remains in one spot. That's how it would happen if she was moving and she wasn't in the back seat at the whole time. Like if she
No,
was
she
moving around.
is in the back seat. So how are you able to see her?
Some of these stars are in different solar
The question
systems.
is, how are you able to see your sister in the back seat of the car if you've been traveling in the car for 5 hours at 50 miles per hour?
Well, she would be traveling around a different circular system.
Is your sister in the car with you?
She's not even there.
Okay. Goodbye, Will.
Can you give me an example of something that has always been?
The universe.
How do you know that the universe has always been?
There's no evidence of the universe ever having come from anywhere. There's no logical
So,
problem with it.
because there is no evidence, or you're going to automatically assume that it's always been. Does that make sense to you?
The broader point is there's no logical necessity for invoking a creation for something that
That's not what I asked you.
that there is it is not in evidence that it even is created or that it
Completely.
necessitates
That's
creation.
not what I asked you. I asked you, do you have any evidence that the universe has always been? You said, we don't know. Because we don't know, it must have always
There
been.
are-
That's not what I asked you.
There are what physicists call past eternal models for the universe that are mathematically consistent. So there's no logical problem with it. If you're going to invoke that there must be a thing, then you have to give a reason for that thing. There's no evidence of any kind of creation in our universe, so to invoke a creative source is just completely unnecessary.
Completely, but you're going off a model that says it must be likely of this. It must be likely of X. You don't know 100%, so you must be agnostic when it comes to the universe. The same thing that the Christians are, for example. Christians believe that there must be a God. They don't know 100%.
There
so they
could
must
be
agnostic.
a God. There is no evidence of it, and the uncaused
No,
cause
wait.
is
Hold on,
not
pause.
evidence. It's an
Pause. You said-
argument, but it's a horrendous argument.
You said that there could be
Yep.
a God. So you believe that there could be a God.
Yep.
Okay. So when you make the statement, there is no evidence of God, that is contradictory to what you're saying. What is the evidence of God?
What?
When you say there is no evidence of God,
I heard exactly what you said. I was just
Yes.
I was just that was my
Exactly. So-
incredulousness coming out at what you said. Not having
Completely.
evidence of something
Yeah.
is not a acknowledging that you don't have evidence of something is not a contradiction of not believing in or saying that it's possible that something could exist.
completely. But my point is, I
so
didn't
you-
have no evidence that you exist. So I'm not going to automatically say that you are not real. The fact that there is no evidence is not a point blank period of 100% that person could not be real. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, why there is a fallacy when you say that there is no evidence of God. Because you don't know it. Because if you don't know it, doesn't automatically assume it doesn't exist.
It sounds like you're saying if God exists, then in principle, evidence of the God would exist. So I'm not allowed
Yes.
to say there is no evidence. But that's just such a completely dishonest tactic.
No, it's not dishonest. It's meaningful.
it is.
When you say that there is
It
no
is.
evidence of, so if I said there's no evidence of Peterson, there's no evidence of Peterson, but I don't know it. I don't have any evidence. I'm just going to say it's not real. But in objective reality, you are real.
You
That's
are
the point
you
I'm
are
trying to say.
conflating You're what you're doing is you're trying
What am I
to.
doing? What am I? Tell me.
I was literally in the middle of explaining it, and then you interrupted me. So it's gonna
Go
take
on.
a while if we keep going that route.
Yeah, go on.
So are you gonna be a good boy?
Are you gonna be a good boy?
Are you gonna be a good? I know you are, but what am I? That's what we're up to now.
I don't know, but you keep telling me the same thing. Why don't you go to the point?
Are you gonna allow me to?
Depends. You want me to allow you to?
I just want you to be a good little boy.
But I want you to be a good little boy.
Literally, chat, what is it doing? It's doing I know you are, but what am I? I haven't
Why don't
heard
you
that
try to
since the
finish-
tether
why-
ball
Why
court.
don't you try to finish?
You're
your
literally
sentence?
interrupting
Like
me
if you
again.
are-
I was trying to do
why
what you
don't
want. I was
try
trying to be a good
finish
boy
it?
for you and you interrupted me.
Okay, keep being a good boy and just try to finish your fallacy. Come
Great.
On. We're
So
waiting.
you are conflating the idea that somebody's saying, I don't know, but there's no evidence. You're saying what they're doing is claiming that the thing doesn't exist or isn't real, and that is not the case.
Really?
Yes.
Nah, come on. You cannot be honest with that. Are you serious? Peterson, come on. That's not the best you can do. It's because let me make it simple for you. Let me make it simple for you because it's clearly not getting through your head. So this is the thing that I'm trying to say. When you make a statement like there is no evidence of God, that must mean
I don't possess any evidence. This statement doesn't mean nowhere in the universe could there ever possibly be any evidence. That's not what it means. Anybody can understand that. So I don't know if you're trolling.
Excuse me,
I don't know
me.
if you got caught in. I don't know if you were really proud of yourself about this argument and that you put it on the refrigerator, and now you're devastated that I laid out that your argument is stupid, and so you're trying to preserve the last vestiges of your ego and your manhood. So you're just gonna sit here and be like, Peterson, is that really the best you can do? But it's over for you, kid. So just drop it. Just walk away from it.
It doesn't make any sense. But this is what I'm trying to say. When you make a statement, this is a statement. This is an objective statement. People don't know what the statement is behind it. People don't know why you put it there. But you say that there is no evidence of God. This is objective. We don't know if that's what you think or not. You say there is no evidence of God. That must mean you must possess all possible knowledge there could ever be to say that there is no evidence of X. So the whole point of
no, that's not what that means. And again, I don't know why you're being dishonest like this.
Not being dishonest. You
no,
put
yes,
there,
you are.
There is no evidence of God. What are you trying to say?
And what you're doing is you're trying to read my mind. You're not that guy, little bro. You don't have that gift.
You just said, no, excuse me.
I'm literally still waiting.
Okay, so let me speak. So this is what I'm saying. There must be a creator in order for things to exist.
Yeah, give me any of the properties that your creator has. That's what I said. Quit being a bad boy. Tell me any of the properties that the God you believe in has.
I just told you, must be a creator. Something.
I didn't ask you if there must be the thing you believe in. I asked you to tell me any of its properties.
I told you one of the properties. He must have.
Existence is not a predicate, okay?
It is what I just told you.
Oh, chat, what the fuck is it doing? So besides that your God is a creator, which isn't a property that it has, could you tell me one other property that the God you believe in has?
Okay, I'll make it easy because I don't understand. I think you must not be a very aware person. I can make it easy for you. So you can think of this God or this creator as an energy that has always been, has never been created.
Okay, so the creator you believe in has energy as a property of it. What specific energy does this God possess?
I just told you, it has to be, it's an energy. You can think of it as energy.
Yeah, so instead of telling me that the energy your God has is that the God has energy, which is just going in a circle, could you tell me what kind of energy this God has? Is it radio waves? Is it BDE? Is it X-rays? What kind of energy?
I mean, the definition of energy itself is just to be able to move something. It could be anything at all. It doesn't have to be a specific thing. It just has to be the property itself.
Do you have a computer? Do you have a computer in front of you?
Out in front of me, no.
Okay, could you go on your phone and Google what is BDE real quick? So your
Exactly.
God
So here's the thing.
your
So let
God
me make it
has
easy for you.
energy,
So let
which
me
is
make
a
it easy for you.
nebulous nothing statement.
So,
So
okay.
could you
Let
tell
me
me
make
more
it.
about the energy that
Let me
the
make
God
it.
you believe in
Let me
has?
make it more easy for you. So I think you're not.
You the problem is you're actually making it too easy, because all you're doing is saying my God is a creator and my God is a creator. When I asked you to, to add on to that, all you said was restated the claim. And then I asked you, okay, tell me about your God. It has energy. What kind of energy? Yeah, I just told you. It's energy. So you're actually making it too easy. You're telling me that the floor is made of floor. Okay? So, what kind of describe the energy of this creator that you believe in?
Yeah, you can think of it as energy, or you can think it of something else. But that's not even my
Holy
point.
fucking shit. So literally
Calm down. Calm
nothingness.
down.
You are
Calm down.
incapable of giving
Calm
any
down.
property that the thing you
Breathe.
believe in has.
Breathe.
Big donkey
Breathe. I can
energy.
breathe. You're getting red. Okay, I can see the blood vessels
Oh
in your.
man. I'm
I can see the blood
sunburnt,
vessels
so
in
that's
you.
probably part of it.
You can keep running away from the question, but that's not going to help you solve your problems. I'm going to ask you again, very slowly, for you to understand. So, how do you believe that there must be a starting line for the process that came and made you to be in existence?
You say you're making this simple, but I promise that you don't know what any of the words you
Okay.
just said mean.
Okay.
What is a
Are we
starting
speaking?
line?
Are you speaking the same language? Is it hard for you to exist?
What is
Do
a
you even know?
starting line?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you again one more time.
You are
Okay,
being a very naughty boy. What is a starting line? In order for me to answer your question, I have to know what you meant, but I promise that you have no idea what you meant. What is a starting line?
I'll repeat myself again.
No, you're not
How?
going to repeat yourself. You're going to tell me specifically what a starting line is, because I already
No,
know
you're
your
gonna ask the next
question.
question. No, you don't.
That's a bad
You don't.
boy. What is a starting line?
Do you know how the starting line came to be?
Okay, so chat, it doesn't even know what its own question is. And when I
I know.
knew that that was the case, so I asked it, "Hey, could you
No,
tell
you
me
don't.
what this thing embedded in your question is?" And all
How
it can
dare you?
say is the thing itself. Starting line,
Yeah.
starting line, starting line. Just
How
like
dare you?
my creator is a
Let it out.
creator and it has the
Let it
property
out.
of being a creator, just
Come on, let
like
it out.
energy is energy, or you could
Come on.
call it something
Just
else.
let all the emotions out.
Now
You're
we're
too
up to
emotional.
this.
Come on. You're very emotional, but it's okay, no problem. So I'm gonna repeat
I
myself.
do
The question
admire
again.
that the stoicism you have in the face of being
Come on,
publicly
Christian.
humiliated is a
Come
little
on,
bit
Christian.
admirable, but it might actually be a
Come
symptom that
on.
you have some sort of
It's okay.
very
It's okay, no
troubling,
problem.
like mood
Yeah.
regulation
Come on.
disorder, like in the
Yeah.
sense that you actually don't possess
Let
the
it out.
ability
Come on,
to
let it out.
express anything. I think they call it
Okay. Let it out.
anhedonia, but you have an
Calm
extreme
down.
case of it.
Breathe. Breathe. Okay. Are you calm? Good boy. Now I'm going to ask the question again, since you're done with all the ranting that nobody really listens to it. So the thing is, my question to you is, do you believe that in order for a y x to be y, it needed to a condition for that to exist? It's a very simple question.
It is the most incomprehensible question. In order for X to be
Okay.
Y, there has to be a starting point. Okay, so you said that anything that is in unity requires a God for that to be the case, and you said it's in evidence. What evidence of that do we have?
I said things where I think unity itself, right? Let's say yeah, it's just unity itself. And that's really just getting into mineralogy, right? When we have, let's say, uh ice, like ice cream, right, and it's composed of multiple parts, right? These parts exist independently of each other. Like let's say the cream and the ice, or whatever, the milk within ice cream, they all exist independently, so meaning they have to be formed in such a way where they're compatible with each other, that poses this new existence, aka ice cream. That proposes a merger, right? For example, to make them compatible, because they're all independent existences that are independently described of each other. Meaning there must be something that unifies them in such a way where they're dependently described on each other to create ice cream.
Same thing with almost every single physical thing we could observe, right?
We
How do they
can
know?
see that they are spinning faster than the observable matter would have enough gravitational strength to hold them in place.
That's an assumption according to Einstein's gravitational theory, right? But how do you know that? How do you know? Do you think a human being knows how fast those things out there should turn?
It's not a
when he
matter
looks at
of
them
how
and say,
fast.
they don't seem to be turning the way we think. Well, let's invent 26% of stuff out there. Does that sound reasonable to you?
True, that's what happened. Exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this guy talk, and he just tries to be as dishonest as possible. I don't think he means anything that he says, basically. But yeah, what really happened?
Wow, I thought you were a nice guy. So you're not. You're just a troll.
No, you are.
You know what I just said.
That is a
exactly
projection,
true, according to your model, right?
Yeah, I need you to be a good
He's a
boy,
mod, be
like your
careful.
PFP, and wait until I'm done talking before you speak. So anyways, your characterization of what happened is a really idiotic straw man of what happened, and you know that it's an idiotic straw man. That's how you were able to frame it in that way because you know enough about it in order to mischaracterize it. People that don't know anything about something, when they try to mischaracterize it, they just say stuff that doesn't make any sense. But you seem to know
clown,
enough.
I'm going to be kind to you
I'm
because
literally
you're a
still
guest
talking.
only. I'm going to be kind to you because
literally
you're a
still
guest
talking.
only. Yeah, I know.
Okay, I have muted you. I don't think I have server mute powers, but I can't hear you, so there's no point in you talking right now. So, I know that what you're doing is a dishonest tactic. It's extremely obvious. And that's not at all what happened. What we saw was, well, here, let me ask you a question. Do you know how to determine how fast a galaxy is rotating?
That's what I asked you before you insulted
No,
me.
you said how fast should they be turning, which is a ridiculous question. We don't prescribe things. We don't prescribe anything to galaxies. We make observations. So, do you know how to calculate how fast a galaxy is rotating?
That's not the question.
the
the
funny
question
thing
is,
It actually
how
is
do
the
you
question,
know?
and I would know
No, that
because
is
I'm
not
the one who
question.
said it. Do you know
Well, you
how...
can ask the question if you want.
That's
The
great.
real
I'm going to
question
ask
is,
it for
how
a
did you
third time.
determine
How do you determine
Obviously, you
how
don't wanna have
fast
a
a galaxy
conversation.
is rotating?
Yeah,
Why
who
doesn't this
determined
Brandon
that?
Peterson guy want to have a conversation?
For
Yeah,
the
who
fifth
determined how
time,
fast the galaxy rotated? That's what I first asked you, and that's when you
Scientists.
got triggered, didn't you? Because you know nobody knows how a galaxy should rotate. Sir,
There you go. There you are giving a prescription about what a galaxy should do as if that's how anything works. So the question remains, do you even know how to determine how fast a galaxy is rotating?
listen to the answer. Nobody knows how fast a galaxy should be rotating unless you're God, my friend.
Chat,
Do you
what is it
understand
doing?
that? If you don't understand that, you don't know anything about cosmology.
Okay, you are disqualified from having any kind of conversation because you just said the way my epistemology works is I throw up my hands, God is the one that decides things, and things aren't knowable. So you can't even argue a position because you don't actually have a position. Is that really how you want things to go?
No, I made a statement of fact. Listen to it again. Nobody here on Earth.
I literally heard everything you have to say.
No, don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me.
I heard everything you said, and I muted you, so I can't hear you. I don't have any interest in you repeating your claim. I heard what you said. It's extremely obvious. You say it can't be known, only God can know it. So you and I, you have disqualified yourself from having a conversation about anything because you don't have a position on the way anything should be. You can't say, oh, it should be like this or it should be like that. You just say, well, God knows, and nobody else is capable of knowing. Nobody is going around saying what it should be doing. We make observations, and you refuse to answer the question about how can you tell how fast a galaxy is rotating, which is not the thing you're talking about. No, you haven't even made an attempt. I'm asking you, how can you tell how fast it's rotating? And you keep saying
You can observe
nobody
it.
knows.
You can observe it to tell
Nobody
how fast
knows
it's
how
rotating.
fast it should be rotating. It's extremely transparent.
Buddy,
we can try it
carefully.
one more
There's two
time.
questions here.
Do you know how to do
do we
it?
know it's rotating? And how
Do you know how to tell how fast a galaxy is rotating?
Yes, you observe it.
Yeah, be more specific. What is the specific observation that you make?
Well, you observe it to respect of other stars around it.
No. So earlier I said you knew enough about this in order to create a misconstruction of it, to strawman it. Let me apologize. I was wrong.
It doesn't
You
matter
actually
what
don't know
explanation
anything.
you give, bro. Don't you understand that?
I was in the middle of talking, so you're going to have to stop. So I apologize for mischaracterizing you as knowing anything about how this works. It's extremely obvious that you have literally no freaking clue how this works, because you said what you do is you compare its rotation to other stars. That is absolutely not how it works.
Listen, buddy, anything you say now of how it works, it's just somebody told you. You don't know. You understand that? You're not going to come here and play high and mighty.
Do you know?
You do not know how fast
you know?
a galaxy should turn. No matter what you say.
There you go, saying
no
should
matter how
again.
smart you start to sound now.
I'm not going to listen to the pontificating. I don't care. Do you
All right,
know?
well,
SE.
Hold on.
Do you know? So
Hold on a second, dude.
Will you admit that you have no idea how to tell how fast a galaxy is rotating?
Well, hold on, dude. Before we move on to that, originally he's mentioned the rate of the galaxies, their spin, and you said it had nothing to do with that.
I asked
Exactly.
him,
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I
It has
asked him.
exactly to do with
I
that.
asked him, how do you determine how fast they're spinning? And what he did the first 10 times was he said, nobody knows how fast they should be, which wasn't the question. And then once I clearly, once I explained that in a way that even he knew he couldn't get away with lying about it like he was, then he tried to give an answer.
Hold on, bro. Hold on, SE. Hold on.
Then what he did was he tried to give an explanation, which was false. And now that he's been called out on the fact that his explanation was false,
hold on.
Now he's going.
Hold on.
Now he's just going back. Now he's going back to the whole. Oh well, you don't know how fast it should be rotating. So that's where we are. He's just.
That's his. Hold on, SE.
It's irrelevant.
SE,
All right.
1 second. Real quick, please. I'm just trying to clarify. That's his honest position. He's arguing from good faith. He doesn't believe it's possible to know the rotation or what the galaxy rotation should be. We know the argument. We know that, we can do an internal critique of your model. And in your model, the arms of the galaxy, the external arms of the galaxy are moving faster than the inside of the galaxy. And because of that, you guys need to invoke dark matter. But originally you said it had nothing to do with the spin, when it does.
That's right. And he's trying to tell me
I didn't
that
say
I don't know
anything
the model.
like that.
Yeah.
No.
That's exactly what you said, bro. Yeah.
What I disputed was SE's characterization of how you determine how fast a galaxy is rotating. You don't determine the speed at which a galaxy is rotating by comparing stars. You could.
Tell us how you do it. Go ahead. Tell us how you do it.
You look at Doppler shift.
You look at Doppler shift. Okay.
Yes.
So now
that's how you do it. That's how you determine the rotation speed of a galaxy.
Okay, so now that we determine that, now let's see if you're going to be man enough and admit that nobody really knows or will ever know how fast a galaxy, listen to my words, should be rotating.
I'm not entertaining your dumbass characterization of the prescription of how fast it should be rotating.
You can't handle it.
No, I've explained it multiple times. Calling a dumbass is not an insult. I have explained it multiple times that we don't give prescriptions for what they be or what they should be. We make observations. So evolution, you're saying evolution can't happen unless one creature turns into another creature. So if I say that, no, that's not how it works, then according to you, evolution is false. or could not have happened. That's really silly. We can demonstrate this by way of analogy.
Don't gaslight me, bro. I asked you a simple question. Either you can answer it or you can gaslight me.
Well, I'm not gaslighting you. If that's your interpretation of what's going on, then Spanky bless you. But anyways, I can demonstrate the...
Did you hear that answer of the expert that came here? Did you guys hear the answer he just gave me? I love it, man.
I'm not even remotely close to done giving you an answer because things aren't as simple as you pretend that they are. So sorry that you think it works that way, but it doesn't. So by way of analogy, I can demonstrate that the demand you're placing on evolution is completely false because we can just compare other things that change over time, like language. Every single child that's ever been born to any parent speaks the same language as its parents, unless it's born deaf or something weird. Yet, languages change over time. So when did Latin become Portuguese? Well, not overnight.
You think deaf people are weird?
Not overnight, not in one generation. It happens bit by bit to the point where the real description of it is it never happens in one instant, but when you separate periods of time, when you separate events that are causally linked in time, and you take a look at those causal events across vast stretches, you see that over here, it's completely different than over there. Or an even simpler example would maybe be, when does a zygote turn into an adult? Well, it doesn't, but they're causally linked.
Okay, do you ever see a feline you ever see a feline become a canine?
Do you actually think that biologists think that happened?
Well, if everything started from a single cell organism, something would have to occur. Changing from changing from whatever that is, which is self-reproducing, to now have to bang private parts together and find a mate and everything. It makes absolutely no sense for survival.
Maybe you should spend more than 3 seconds thinking about it. Maybe you should read one book about it instead of browsing answers in Genesis.
No? Is that all you got? Is ad hom?
These aren't ad homs. These are accurate descriptions. And even if I was just insulting you, an insult is not an ad hom. So we'll go about this by inquiring what your personal beliefs are, and then we'll see how your own personal beliefs just absolutely shatter your own criticism. Do you think that Noah's flood happened?
Okay, so yeah, there was two of the unclean animals. Yeah, 2 pair.
What is a kind? If you were going to compare a kind to something in our taxonomic bracket, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, where would you put it?
What kind? What do you mean? If I were to find a kind, what do you mean? Can you expand on that? I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm asking you, what do you think a kind is in the biological sense? You obviously don't think it's a species because you think there were only 2 frogs, so it can't be a species. So what do you think is the closest thing to what a kind is? Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, or species?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer. Yeah, but a cat, felines stay felines. Yeah.
That's not a species, though. That's a claim.
So here's the fallacy in what you're saying. According to your own belief, what you're saying cannot possibly be true. When you said a canine always remains a canine, for animals that you believe would have been on the ark, the equivalent of becoming something else, because that's in the level of the family, the equivalent of a violation of what you just said has to happen, because there are 9,000, for example, species of frogs, but there are different families of the frogs as well. So what you say, that this imaginary biological law of something always remains in its kind, is literally false according to what you believe about the world. You believe that a tiny fraction of the over 1 million species we have on the planet today radiated into all of them, which means that a change on the level of canine, on that same type of level, would have to occur.
I can understand what you're saying, and I will grant you what you're saying. However, my disagreement here would be I am not the God, so I don't know what he defines as a kind or what he is descriptive to tell Noah which ones to bring on. So maybe
Then
you
why
got
debate
me
or
in the
talk
fact
about
that I don't
anything?
have God-like knowledge, and that's fair. I didn't understand where you're going with the frogs. I still don't really
I don't
grasp
get it either. He's saying
exactly what you're saying about the frog.
So
chicks with
you're just
blonde
telling me
hair
you
are
have an
different than chicks with
unfalsifiable
red hair.
belief, and so I don't know what
Yeah,
the
that's what the truth is,
I don't.
bro. The truth is unfalsifiable. Did you know that?
So that's a circular argument when you try to specifically apply it to a worldview.
But the thing is, where with everything out there, its own kind, it can the genetic expression can only get pushed so far. It can't turn into another species. Go ahead.
You literally believe that it did because how many canines were on the ark?
I just told you one pair.
So you do believe, so there's more than one species of canine alive today. So what you just said, even you don't believe.
I don't see you say that, you can assert that with confidence. I don't believe that there's more than one species of canine in the world today.
You
Somebody
think that
the other day was
foxes and
bringing up
wolves are the same species?
Dude, all canines are the same species.
That is
Right?
such
whether it's a Chihuahua,
that is
a Great
an
Dane,
insane
an Australian
statement to
Shepherd.
make.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the size difference,
buddy.
It doesn't matter the different types of genetic expression.
they're all the same
Their
species.
fur. It has nothing to do with the genome. The genome is the same. It's still a canine.
Buddy, wolves have more than twice as many chromosomes as foxes do, and you're telling me they're the same species?
Hold on, let me verify that.
What the
Let me
hell?
verify. Last time, this other guy said that the African.
And just relax.
Listen, buddy, you believe in evolution without evolving. You can't make this clown show up if you tried, man.
Just because
I love the
black
data and the
African
science you
dog-
brought up there. I love how you used data and science and logic and reasoning to argue your position, he said sarcastically. And according to the arbitrary category of canine, the African spotted dog is more closely related genetically to other dogs than it is to any other form of life. So it
Okay,
is
and
a
so
canine.
in your opinion, therefore, it is a canine by the mind of man. Do you agree that if there was a mind of God, there might be a category we don't know about yet?
You realize that's not an argument at all? That's like said nothing at all.
Yeah, all you did was say God might have opinions. I agree, and that doesn't prove anything about anything. Other than
Well, no,
if
it
a
just
God
shows
exists,
the
it can have
absurdity in your
opinions.
argument. The absurdity in your argument.
There is
that
no
if that
absurdity
is
in
a
my argument.
possibility. Yeah, because you're assuming that this is an internal critique on the God world. So if the God does exist, that is a possibility in your mind. Therefore, your critique is absurd.
No, there's literally nothing wrong with the critique because while the categories may be arbitrary, the relationships are not.
Yeah, and you're talking about the ultimate source for intelligibility, which might have some more information about those relationships that you don't have.
Oh, could you share it with me?
Yo, bro, hold on.
So you
why
have
would I be able to
literally
see? You're not
nothing
even
to
listening
offer.
if you thought that
so
was
you
a
can
response.
shut up again. Thank you.
Yeah, you're done,
So
bro.
To measure whether something was higher or lower, like
Yeah,
the
you
sea
can,
level to be
you
lower.
you can use water. I don't know what you call it, but you put water in like surgical tubing and make a U out of it, and it levels, and then you get your line of sight so that those two ends perfectly line up. And people are actually putting it in the Omnipresence text chat just above this here, a demonstration of that. So, for example, they have a 187 foot tall building that is completely below the water line.
Yeah, that's another. That's another. I know you like the finger painting. That's another tool. Yeah, that's another finger painting of a side view, which would be an interpretation of why they're seeing compression from the front view. You know what I'm saying?
Compression.
But a water.
If it's a
at the
straight,
same
if
elevation.
it's a straight line, then it can't be pointing over top of the taller building because the height, if the Earth is flat, that is, because that taller building is taller than where you are. Like a laser straight line would go to the base of that building, and like if we had a laser pointer that we could shine, and this isn't a laser pointer, but it does what a laser pointer does, and it goes over the top of the building. That is exactly what would happen if the surface of the earth was curving away from you.
Yeah, I mean the surface of the earth, like, so the dirt, like, I don't want to get all into it, right? But there's tools that you can use.
Like, for example, there's another picture that's up there of a lighthouse, and they have a light. They're basically looking through a spotting scope kind of thing. They have it set to level. Now that lighthouse is 154 feet tall. So if the earth is flat, then the elevation that these people are at is 6 feet. Then that sight can only point at the bottom 6 feet of the lighthouse. And I do agree that because the lighthouse is getting smaller, but what it can't do is point over the top of it. That can't happen if the earth is flat. But that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what would happen if the earth is a globe.
Yeah, something optical going on there, because with your eyes closed, you can establish a horizontal plane using a water level.
People say the Christian God answers prayers. Okay. God, please give me a McChicken. Didn't happen.
Well, I didn't hear you address. I didn't hear you in your prayer. I didn't hear you address anyone.
Well, I probably don't have the right special sauce, right? And I'm an atheist, but you're a real Christian, right?
Well, I don't know what you mean by a real Christian, but I would say the intention of what you're saying matters when you're talking about something like prayer in a spiritual aspect, unless you want to try to science this out real quick.
Okay. So could you ask your God for a McChicken for me, and then I would believe that it exists?
Yeah, it's down at McDonald's. You just got to go buy it.
Okay, so you can't demonstrate that your God exists. See, we can use science to prove
he made it possible for the
we can
McChicken
use
to
science
exist,
to
so
prove that
you
the
could
God
go
Torah
and go
believes
get
in
one
doesn't
right now.
exist.
Not only
You're
that,
done.
chicken
You just got
delivered.
wrecked, bro.
That was
And then not only that, chicken
insane
delivered
question
right in front of
begging.
me.
But just to demonstrate why this actually is pretty bad for their case, we can ignore the circular reasoning and all that. What about if a universe where God doesn't exist exists, then it would also be the case that I cannot magically manifest a McChicken. I have to go to the store to buy it. So Torah's view of the world is actually indistinguishable from a world where God doesn't exist. So this doesn't prove anything at all. If I say, okay, this applies to God too, then you would just say, well, God is timeless, so God can make his first action without there being any antecedents. It's just the first decision or whatever that happens, or we just throw our hands up and say God is outside of time, it doesn't count. Okay, I'm invoking for example, a universe in a quantum sort of singularity state where time as we understand it and cause and effect isn't like what we understand now. But at the same time, I'm not invoking a literal miracle that is in principle unknowable. In fact, known science is how we got to that as a possible explanation. So if you're going to say we can't levy that as an explanation, then you can't either. And if you do, then you're just special pleading.
Yeah, you can. If God reveals himself, then you can make that plea.
Whereas you're allowed to do fallacies if you claim you hear voices in your head?
You're natural.
What the hell is that?
That's definitely completely disingenuous.
How does God reveal himself to you?
Well, there's different claims, but if you have a revelatory God that told you how the universe was created, yes, if you had a revelatory God that told you
how did he
how
tell
the universe
you?
was created, how did he tell me? He didn't tell me. I'm giving you an example of how that would be a possibility, how the other side would actually have a better argument than you.
So God told you how the universe was created, or God just made
a claim? Do you not know how to deal with hypotheticals?
Or did God merely make the claim,
why are you putting words in my mouth?
I'm asking you. I'm not telling the audience what happened. I'm asking you. So I'm not putting words in your mouth. That's not the nature of how questions work.
No. The question implied that I said something. Yes, that is the nature of questions. Questions have implications. If I ask you why you're an idiot, the implication is that you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's not putting words into your mouth, though.
It is.
It's literally
Why are
not.
you gay?
So, did God explain to you how God created the universe, or did God just claim that he did it?
Why are you asking me? I'm just giving an answer.
Why am I
to
asking
a
the
previous
person that I'm
question.
talking to that brought it up?
No,
That is such an incredible question.
You're trying to imply that I'm like some.
Right. So I don't know if you've heard of the precept argument. Either way, you're going to end up making a presupposition regarding the beginning of time. Either there was a divine architect that organized all reality, which justifies the uniformity of nature, the cosmological argument,
the
theological argument for fine tuning. And I mean, we have plenty of evidence to justify our position regarding the beginning of time.
Wait, you're just claiming
Yes, we do. So what we have to do now is see which one is the most reasonable position to hold. Did everything come about by accident through some unknown cause?
Okay, there's a ridiculous straw man of the opposing position.
Or there was a divine architect that designed everything with intent.
Describe to me how your worldview would be falsified.
The thing is, if it's true, it's unfalsifiable.
So we can't actually do. You said we could do inquiry with respect to this. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact way you put it. But you said we could investigate these competing claims and see which one better accounts for things. And then you just said yours is unfalsifiable. So you're a walking, talking contradiction.
Well, the lack of transitional fossils is one of the Achilles heel of evolution.
Yeah, what's the number of transitional fossils that would convince you that evolution is true?
Just show me one. Just show me one.
Literally one? Okay, Tiktaalik. There we go. So you now believe that evolution is true. Congratulations. Proud of you.
What? I said, show me the bones, show me the fossils of a transitional species.
Tiktaalik. There you go. You can look it up. You can go to the museum and see it for yourself. Neil Shubin found it in Nunavut back in like 2005, 2004, something like that.
Can you explain to us what it is?
It's a fishapod. It is a transition from a fish developing robust front limbs and a radically different morphology from other fish to transition to land. And then we have others like Ichthyostega, which are later transitional
Didn't you say
forms
before
of it.
and you shut me down that can happen, that doesn't happen? Are you now saying that it does happen?
What happened? No, you're not actually going to do the thing where
turned into another.
You
just said a fish grew lit.
Okay.
That's the start of the tetrapod branch.
Obvious troll. So moving on.
Yeah. You see? You see what happens?
Hold on.
It's a troll. I ask him a question and he can't answer it. Bro, you're a phony. You're just a phony, dude.
0 out of 10 rage bait.
Okay, can you prove to me you're conscious then?
I can't do that, but I can give you confidence intervals to support the notion that I am. According to you,
yeah, definitely. Are we going to accept that absolutes exist in the world?
According to you, what would something that has a consciousness be able to do that I could replicate for you?
Well, you're defining consciousness as a subjective
literally,
experience.
According to you, what is something that has a consciousness? What would it be able to do that I could do for you?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, you're saying that a consciousness is a subjective experience, and the cause of that is.
So I don't know if you do this on purpose, but once again, you're not even trying to engage with my question because I think you know that it demonstrates validity in what I'm saying, and you are so deeply committed to not being able to forfeit any ground on that. So I'll ask it one more time and then never again.
If I don't agree with your definition, then what is the question for?
You don't have to agree with my definition because it's according to you. I couldn't make this more clear. According to you, what is something that is conscious could do that I can do for you?
Yeah, I don't agree with your consciousness.
He can't run away from this, and so he refuses to engage with it because I clearly demonstrated it's according to you. You don't have to accept my worldview. You don't have to do anything. It's literally according to you. And you
So,
asked,
Torah,
how could I believe that how could you prove to me? I can do it on your terms, but you won't engage with it.
Yeah, I did. I
because you
did. Yeah, I did.
know-
I asked you to prove your consciousness to me. That's how you could do it.
Oh, this is
Well,
so
he's asking what it would
pathetic.
take.
Torah,
So
he wants
justify the
Tell
external,
me what
justify
I
the
could do to do
external
it.
and internal world. Yeah.
Tell me what I could do to do it.
You would have to justify that your mind and your experience that you're having, there's something external to it, in my opinion.
This is literally according to you. So stop asking me to come up with an explanation for you to swallow. It's on your own terms. How do you not get it? Tell me what,
I just
according
asked
to
you for the
you, I could do to prove to you that I'm conscious according to your definitions.
Yes, yeah. Can you justify the existence of the external world?
How would that? He's not even trying.
I have a justification.
I didn't ask for a justification. We're not having a discussion on this. The question you asked was, can you prove to me that you're conscious? And I said, sure, we could do an inquiry that would increase the likelihood from your perspective. So tell me what that test would look like. And now all you're doing is quarreling over the atheistic versus presuppositionalist theistic worldview, which doesn't prove anything, because I'm telling you, you get to accept your own worldview. What is the test that would confirm it for you? This is the last time we'll try this. Tell me what I could do that would prove it according to your terms.
Yeah, reason. You can reason it out.
Reason? Okay, give me an abstract problem to think about.
No, yeah, the abstract problem exists, the proving of your consciousness.
Give me an abstract problem that I can think about.
That the external world exists outside of your mind.
Give me some sort of abstract problem that I can reason about so I can prove to you that I'm conscious according to your terms.
Yeah, the consciousness is the abstract problem. Do you think consciousness exists somewhere physically?
This is one of the performances of all time. This is an insane tantrum crash out. He won't do it. He's incapable of doing it.
Right, so Da Vinci understood the idea of aerodynamics. Right, there was resources where you could build a wing. Right, you know what I mean. But yet we didn't do it. Right, it didn't happen. So it's unexplainable why. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand your point. Right, you know what I mean.
Like, dude, literally, if you took the 100 smartest inventors today and threw them back 500 years ago, they could maybe make like a cool wagon or something like that, but they wouldn't be able to really invent something extraordinary. The best they could maybe do is figure out how to like create some electricity out of some electrolytes and maybe make the world's crappiest light bulb, but there would just be, they just wouldn't have the accumulated stuff to be able to do anything fantastic.
Okay, well, explain to me why.
Explain?
No, I'm sorry.
I did so many times.
No, you didn't. No, what you did was you came up with a kind of simplistic answer, right? It's simple, right? What you're saying is understandable, but simple. Maybe the way I was explaining the idea of existentialism or cancer, right? You know what I mean? Like I don't really have the technical answer, and I don't believe that you have the technical answer. And I'm not questioning your intelligence. Obviously, you know, you've thought about these things and you're educated and you're able to articulate ideas, right? But you still didn't give me an answer, my friend.
No, I did. We're gonna try this one more time, and then I gotta move on because there are a lot of people waiting. Why was the first car not as good as today's modern cars?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes.
Because it was a little more primitive than what we have now.
Yeah, but that's the question. Why?
Because the concept of the car was brand new, right? Like we improve on things that we have. Right.
So why was the technology of people from the past so much different and worse than the technology we have today? For the same reason.
No, because I bring up the point of Da Vinci. Da Vinci designed a wing Why didn't he build on it? Why didn't his
Carl
why didn't
Benz
his
invented
predecessors
the
build
car. Why didn't he invent the Bugatti Veyron?
Yeah, I understand the point that you're trying to make, but again, I think you're kind of ducking the question. I'm going to let you move on. Thank you for the conversation. I appreciated it. Right, I really did.
So I'm a human. I have a consciousness. I can think of ideas. I can conceptualize things, and I can come up with the idea of God in my mind, and therefore God exists in my mind.
In your mind, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? So if that's the case, then I can imagine the God defeating penguin exists, which means the God in your mind doesn't exist.
God defeating what?
Penguin.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
I can imagine in my mind the God defeating penguin existing. So that means that anybody that imagines God, they actually don't, because the God defeating penguin that I imagined makes their God not exist.
Well, they exist in separate universes. The closed universe of your mind is different than the closed universe of my mind, correct?
I don't think so. I think you and I live in the universe.
We live in the same material universe, but the reality as it is constructed in your mind is separate than the reality that is constructed within my mind, correct?
Yeah, but we're still sharing the same reality, because that big circle is the universe, and then the two little circles are your mind and my mind. So we occupy the same universe.
Right, and those two tiny circles are closed off from one another. They don't share any space.
No, they do. They share the universe.
Right,
they're inside the same big circle.
Right, but your little circle is not inside of my
one circle, one big circle.
Right, there's three circles, and the one of the two smaller circles is not inside the other smaller circle.
They're part of the same set, though.
They're part of the same larger circle, but the two smaller circles are not within one another. They're within the bigger circle together.
They share an ultimate reality. And so since in that ultimate reality, a God-defeating penguin exists, that means that God cannot exist in that reality. Your mind is just a subset of that broader reality. And so it doesn't matter.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Christian God, if that's about as specific, I guess I can get.
Fair enough. What'd be like the most compelling evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
That randomness, if randomness morphs into order, it was never random.
Well, are you under the impression that that order can't come from randomness?
Yes.
Why?
If order comes from randomness, it was never random.
Well, I disagree.
So then,
how does that follow?
How can randomness be order?
Well, you're the one that says it can't be. Well, I'm just asking how does that follow?
The opposite. But the randomness is that it's not order. Correct?
This bottle seems pretty random, right?
No, it actually seems very organized.
What?
No, the beads were randomized, and because physics happened, when they stopped being shaken, they sorted, which is order, right? So the physics that like are in our universe is what can take things that are what we would call disordered and create order.
Of that. If you had that bottle buried in some sort of cryogenic chamber or something that was discovered, that somebody finding that would be an indication or an evidence of something.
Okay,
which is an identification
don't change the subject to watchmaker analogies. Yes, you are.
Yeah, he's definitely pivoting hard already.
You went to the watchmaker analogy. Randomness can absolutely produce. Well, I don't know what you mean by.
You two on a team. Who am I debating?
Both of us.
You're clearly having a conversation with two of us, and so we're not a hive mind. There's no such thing as a.
Actors, you guys are.
hive mind. So first of all, we haven't even determined what's even happening here, whether or not we're having a conversation or a debate, or whether or not you're just crashing out and running. Oh, that's what's happening. He's crashing out and running.
Man, I wanted to talk about that because there's a lot to unpack. That randomness can't create order. Well, a system that begins with in a random state, like the bottle thing you showed there, can absolutely produce order if there is some sort of sorting or selecting mechanism. The laws of physics for I've seen those things before where it's like alcohol and salt water. Those are really cool. That can do it. Gravity can cause the initial sort of random and homogeneous distribution of matter to coalesce into stars and galaxies. Natural selection. So, but I don't know. I think he was a talking point generator. And I don't think he could discuss anything. I think he could just say things.
Yeah, actually, I think that was the case. I think he came up with talking points, and he wanted to rattle off his talking points. Yep. But
what I found is the Red Sea, just like this story of Noah. They found chariots of Egyptians, Israelites in that sea. And if
wow,
you go to
that is remarkable.
Well,
who found it?
Go to the beach as well, archaeologists.
What's their name?
I can't remember his or her name off the top of my head. I remember reading about it when I wanted to get into Christianity.
Where did you read about it?
And researched it. Honestly, I couldn't tell you that either because it was a while that I read that. I should probably have it like on the top of my head for moments like this. But if you do a simple Google search, like it'll show you. And also
we know
that.
We're quite aware of how Google works. If you did a Google search, you would see that a man named Ron Wyatt, who wasn't an actual archaeologist, made up this entire fictitious claim about the Ark being found, or also the claim that the Ark of the Covenant was found, or the claim that you're espousing, which is that there are chariot wheels at the bottom of the Red Sea, all of which come from one man who was a charlatan, and there's not a single shred of archaeological evidence that would demonstrate any of his claims. Oh, and he's gone. Wow.
Well, to be fair, Ron Wyatt was a nurse, which... where was I going with this? He really did find all that stuff.
His live the other day, and he was urging you to come up to voice, and you were afraid to go up to voice. Why are you afraid to speak to him?
Legit have no idea who you're referring to.
Yeah, Darth Dawkins.
I've not been in Darth Dawkins live for probably 3 months.
You were in there because I remember when I was in the
live.
live,
I wasn't.
I saw you in there. Yes.
Catholic, you're probably confusing Justin for me because Darth is always going around saying that I'm too afraid to debate him.
Yeah, afraid of Darth.
I literally talked to him today and he kicked me out after 5 seconds.
Yeah, you're all afraid of Darth because what you'll do.
Nobody's afraid of Darth.
Nobody's afraid of. The only people that should be afraid of him are his wife and kids.
Troll instead of having a mature conversation, and obviously he's not going to go ahead.
Darth has had a mature conversation in his life, which is why you're up here crying on my live stream defending your daddy.
All Darth does is filibuster.
Not any of you are able to debate Darth. That's why you all run away from him. Now
nobody can debate Darth because Darth won't let anyone.
To everything that you
Catholic, DM him right now and tell him to come up. He will gladly be brought up.
Woke cancel code.
So Darth did come to my live stream, and he only lasted for about 30 seconds.
Notice everyone.
And the reason why people like you don't actually get to have good conversations is because you think that you own our spaces. Like you think you get to come into our spaces and take them over. And that's not how that works, because in our spaces we tend to have like real conversations with actual adults, and you don't actually qualify as one.
Repent or perish.
Is this a mature conversation in your mind, Catholic?
Notice everybody that every single time I said, okay, I can prove God, he was muting me. Notice that.
He'll never have a conversation because he can never shut up.
Notice they're not going to allow.
So the reason why we can't have a conversation with you is because you won't let us talk on our own stream. So the
censorship.
Censorship.
Okay.
The problem I have with this only the Christian worldview can be the can be the grounding for, truth claims and whatever. I would say that the Christian worldview obliterates even the possibility of having any kind of objective knowledge. You can presuppose it. And what's really annoying is the way people pretend that what you presuppose is what is absolutely true. But no, the Christian worldview obliterates the possibility of any kind of objective knowledge. Do you want to know why that is?
Sure.
Okay. All you have to do is answer this one question. Can you know that the devil is deceiving you?
No.
There you go. So that obliterates the possibility of objective knowledge. You can presuppose it. I presuppose that my eyes are giving me accurate information about the world. Now, is it possible that unicorn queef dust is altering all of the photons that hit my eye and scrambling them and creating an inaccurate image of what's in front of me? Sure. But I don't find that to be a reasonable problem to assume, I guess. God's existence is unfalsifiable?
Absolutely.
That's just not even true. What if the description of God is a contradiction?
Then that's a wrong description of God. It is the sum essence of God is the sum essence of all reality.
Says who?
Cannot exist without there a being called God.
So if every single thing we ever learned until the end of time about God, we were able to later figure out, oh, there's a contradiction, you would just say, oh, well, our definition or our description of God in every single instance has been false, but God still exists. On what grounds are you claiming that God even exists?
Existence
or are you just saying,
itself.
by definition, there has to be a thing that exists and I call it God?
Existence itself necessitates a God.
Why?
Nothing can exist apart from one, because the universe is going towards a direction. So it needs
No, it isn't.
someone leading that direction. Oh, it's not just dishonest. It's just observation. Existence
when did you observe God?
necessitates existence, the works of God. We observe the God's works.
You don't know that because you said you can't know if you're being deceived by Satan. So you have no idea if you're observing God's works or not.
Absolutely. He can't deceive you on everything. He can deceive you on some things.
What can Satan not deceive you on?
The fact that the universe was created by a deity.
Explain to me, give me the logic behind how it's not possible for Satan to deceive you about that.
It's a form of natural revelation that comes to people who are
So
not
you
even
can't.
believers.
You just have to say that it was revealed to me that God did it and reject that it's possible that Satan is doing it. That's very weak.
That's not what I said.
Those are not the words you said, but that is what you said.
All right. Well, I gotta go.
Premise one of Angel's formal argument for why God would create a universe with incompleteness as a feature of systems.
Listen, check.
Premise one is a short guy who doesn't believe in God says some stuff about physics. What is premise two?
Did you hear what he just said? It's checkmate. It's over.
Premise two is, did you hear what he just said? What is premise three?
I got, it's over, Peterson. Just submit it.
I got it's over, Peterson is premise three. What is premise four? Is premise four. Toilet sounds is premise five. What is premise six? Dropping the lid on the floor is premise six. What is premise seven?
Now we in silly season.
Now we in silly season is premise seven. Is premise eight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's premise nine.
Just admit that you don't know anything about what you're talking about. You don't know basic. You didn't even know what Schrodinger's equation was or what. Uncertain, a simple thing like Planck constant, and you talking about God doesn't exist. You don't even have a clue about anything. And you talking about God doesn't exist. You sound ridiculous. You are three-dimensional beings stuck in one dimension of time that don't know anything about your own existence. But you sit up here and obsess about God every week, every day.
Okay, premise 10 is listen. Just admit it that you don't know anything about what you're talking about. You don't know basic. You don't know Schrodinger's thing, Planck's constant. You don't have a clue about anything, and you're talking about God doesn't exist. You sound ridiculous. You're a three-dimensional being stuck in one dimension of time.
It's intelligent to obsess about God when you don't even know basic things about your own reality. You're oblivious to basic things about your own reality.
Wait, before I give the argument, what's the distinction between analytic and synthetic truths? Go ahead.
I don't know.
You don't know. So you don't know this basic distinction between different types of facts.
Man, are you that guy that came up here that one time and said,
no. Implication of the argument.
Anyways, are you that guy that came up here that one time and said, hey, what's the, how did it go? I used to have it memorized.
So you just concede that you don't know basic logical distinctions, Tubby? Yes or no?
I don't know what you mean by those terms. I could probably sit around and think about it.
That's what I thought. Plumpy.
I know
analytical. This basic distinction between.
I know that analytical truths are true by definition.
Yeah, now he's just googling the answer. Chad, he looks terrible. You guys support this guy?
No. I'm looking up that thumbnail because I'm looking
actually
for that.
He's face down,
thumbnail.
ass up right now, and the argument hasn't even been rendered yet. He looks terrible optically and rhetorically. He's getting his back blown out.
Atemporal unconditional precondition that is necessarily non-contingent. Are you that?
Universally.
Oh, you're that guy.
Okay. It's all synthetic predicates. So go ahead and respond to the argument, fat boy. Which premise do you reject, Tubby?
You haven't given a premise.
Sorry. I did just give a premise. Can you repeat what I just said?
You didn't give a premise. You just rattled off a bunch of like descriptions.
Blunder number two on your end, Tubby. I need you to repeat everything I just said because I gave you a premise. The first premise of my argument, which follows via modus tollens.
Modus tollens?
Yes,
if
sir.
P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. You didn't do that.
Sorry, sir. Just to be very clear about this, I gave you the first premise of my argument was a conditional statement. Can you repeat everything I just said?
Well, I said atemporal unconditional precondition that is necessarily non-contingent, and then I don't remember what you said after that.
Yeah, so you're just not tracking. That's a tracking error on your part.
On my fart? You mean part? He said fart. Like he literally said fart. We can't hear you when you're not on the app. YouTube, you guys can't see this, but here I can see that coffee cup thing, YouTubers. That means that they're there, but they don't have the app open, so you can't hear anything that, oh, he dropped. Well, okay. So he just conceded the entire debate, and you all saw it.